on DeVonta Smith.
Matt looks long. Touchdown by DeVonta Smith.
A truly special performance by the Heisman Trophy winner.
His third touchdown of the night.
They said the dynasty was over. We don't stop. We just keep reloading.
Roll Tide! What's going on, everybody? Welcome into First Take. How about it, y'all? Alabama, 6 titles in 12 seasons. Nick Saban with his 7th. Joey Galloway, kind enough to join us this morning, even though he can't be happy with the result. Former Buckeye, good to see you, sir. Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman. Guys, there's so much to cover today, so let's just roll right into it. Obviously, Stephen A., you mentioned it off the top. I want to focus on DeVonta Smith. My goodness, unreal, wreaking havoc. 12 catches, 250 yards, 3 receiving TDs in the first half alone. Joey Galloway, you know what that's about, former receiver. But guys, taking a look at Todd McShay's latest mock draft here, Todd has DeVonta going 3rd overall. That's to the Dolphins. No surprise, Jags taking Trevor Lawrence 1st overall. But then Todd has the Jets taking offensive lineman Penei Sewell with the 2nd pick. Stephen A., do you think the Jets should take a wide receiver, go with Smith at number 2?
I'm going to roll with that. And the reason why I'm going to roll with that is because of the, absent Trevor Lawrence, we have looked at the rest of the quarterbacks, Zach Wilson at BYU, obviously Mac Jones, who put on the show last night, 5 TDs, over 400 yards passing, he put on the show. But the bottom line is when you've talked about quarterbacks in the upcoming NFL draft, the surefire bet has been Trevor Lawrence. Outside of that, there's been speculation as to what direction they're going. Joey, I'll defer to you because I've seen these guys play a few times. You're watching them every single week. I defer to you in this regard. What I will say, however, is this. DeVonta Smith, it ain't no there's no deferring when it comes to that. Everybody can see what this brother can bring to the table. You combine that with what Sam Darnold, the potential that he has, even though he's turnover prone to some degree, when you see some of the upside, and you lament the fact that Adam Gase had been his coach the last 2 years and that the New York Jets have been bereft of talent. If you don't have somebody, a legitimate number 1 to throw the damn football to, then that's going to compromise you as a quarterback. Unless you are completely convinced that Sam Darnold absolutely unequivocally is not the answer, or there's a Trevor Lawrence that you could grab at number 2. I see no reason why, if you have any kind of faith in your quarterback and you got a guy like DeVonta Smith available to you, then you go that route, because this brother was just on another level. He had more yards than the entire Ohio State offense, okay, at one point. This brother just put on an absolute show. And I know Jalen Waddle came back into the lineup, caught about 3 passes for 34 yards. But in the end, everybody and their mother knew DeVonta Smith was going to get the ball. Except for that safety over the top, over the top, Joey, that goes in a different direction instead of making sure that he's helping to cover DeVonta Smith. What the hell are you running away from DeVonta Smith for, to cover another receiver, when you're responsible for coverage over the top and you running in a different direction, when you got a safety literally trying to track down, or a linebacker literally trying to track down DeVonta Smith? Made no sense whatsoever. But in the end, again, DeVonta Smith is so special in my eyes. He's worth strong consideration for the number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft.
I don't care how
number
special
1, the
DeVonta
Jets probably
Smith
need
is,
the entire offense.
Very special. My hat is off to DeVonta Smith. He had a great game, and he's totally special. I'm not debating that. You do not take him with the number 2 overall pick if you're the Jets. That's insanity. Guys, Calvin Johnson was very special. He went number 2 overall. He played in 2 playoff games in his career, and he was one of the all-time greats, one of the best ever at his very best. Played in 2 playoff games. You don't take a receiver number 2 unless you got everything, a lot of other stuff in place. The Jets need multiple offensive linemen, multiple linebackers. And honestly, I think they need a quarterback. I thought Sam Darnold would be good. He's still young. It's still not too late. He was the worst starting quarterback in football this year. I mean, let's be honest about that. But if you don't like Justin Fields, if you go, no, I need to see more. I don't believe in him. I don't think he's appreciably better than Sam Darnold, or certainly not a slam dunk, then you have a lot of other holes to fill. You take a more kind of a building block player, or you try to trade down for draft capital and get more stuff. Look, Why do the Miami Dolphins, would it make sense for the Dolphins to do that? Yeah, sure. Because the Dolphins are drafting third because they have draft capital, because they made trades, not because they were terrible. So if you already believe in Tua, you got a defense, you got a lot of, DeVonta Smith makes a ton of sense in Miami. But the Jets are drafting second, not because they planned so carefully and have this draft capital and they have all these things in place, and now an elite receiver to put them over the top. So that's number 1 and 2. You know what number 3 is? I mentioned Calvin Johnson. You know how many guys you can, it's hard to get Aaron Donald or Khalil Mack later on in the draft. Late in the first round, you might get TJ Watt or Cameron Jordan or someone like that. But those elite playmakers on defense, cornerbacks, defensive ends, those guys really don't get too far down in the draft. Whereas receivers, come on, guys. Think about DeAndre Hopkins, or if you want to talk about Stephon Diggs or Tyreek Hill. These guys go anywhere from late in the first to the 5th round. Look, Devontae Adams, just look around the league. How many wide receivers who are elite and help their team get to a Super Bowl were taken in the top 5? Julio Jones? Who else? No, not for the New York Jets. As great as Devontae looked yesterday, that would be a mistake by the Jets.
Max, I was with you right up until you made it sound like the receivers aren't important. I think you make a lot of good points there. But you also said how much the Jets are missing, and then said Sam Darnold isn't good. We don't know how good Sam Darnold can be because of the other pieces that are missing. You can't take a young quarterback and throw him in a situation with a team that is missing a lot of pieces and then judge that quarterback on his inabilities and what he's been able to accomplish. Now, I do believe, and believe me, I love receivers, and I think we're extremely important. I think that we deserve to be in the first round. But there are so many things that have to go right for your offense on every single play before a receiver can help you out. Your offensive line has to be good. Your running backs have to be good. Your quarterback has to do the right thing, read the right coverages. The play call itself has to be good before a receiver can make a difference for your offense. If I'm the Jets, number one, I'm going to try to get the entire offense of Alabama because they are terrific. So many playmakers on that offense. But I would be thinking more like a Penei Sewell. From what I've heard, as good as DeVonta Smith is, Penei Sewell is just that good at tackle. So there are a lot of pieces you can get in this draft, and there's a ton of really good receivers that you can get in this draft. I just think with that number 1 pick, you talk about offensive tackle and how important that position is in football because of the pass rushers like Khalil Mack out there that you got to worry about. You got to get that offensive line together before you can ever judge Sam Darnold.
Joey, I never said receivers aren't important. They're very important, which is why the best ones get paid the way they do. I'm simply pointing out what you just said. You need a lot of stuff before you finish it off with a receiver. The Dolphins, yes, if he's there, Miami should take him because they're not drafting third because they were bad. The Jets are drafting second because they were awful, and I point out you can get great receivers in the 5th round. It happens all the time. You know who's never in the 5th round? What you just said, or very rarely, a great offensive lineman. That's easy to identify. A great defensive end, a great corner. And the Jets need a whole lot of stuff.
Well, you know what? They talked about the same thing to some degree with running backs. For example, when they took Ezekiel Elliott number 4 overall, we lamented that. And then he went out and played lights out for the first few years. We certainly said that about Saquon Barkley. Not you, Max, but other people said that about Saquon Barkley. But then you realize how special the brother was. You can be so special that even though it would be a tough situation for you to be in, and it would be a tough call for a team to make because there are so many other glaring needs. Talent usurps everything. And when you have a piece, a cornerstone of a franchise at a particular position, it allows you to prioritize other things sometimes. I'm saying that when you look at DeVonta Smith, if you value Sam Darnold, he threw 9 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, man. He completed about 59% of his passes. His rookie year, he completed about 57% of his passes. Last year, he completed nearly 62% of his passes, but took a step in the wrong direction because we knew that the Jets were an absolute mess. I get all of that in terms of an offensive lineman or a quarterback. I totally understand all of that. All I'm saying is DeVonta Smith appears to be so special And the Jets clearly are not. They're not the Pittsburgh Steelers, Max. If this were the Pittsburgh Steelers, of course I wouldn't be saying such a thing, because they find a way to find dudes that are late round picks, whether it's second, third, fourth round, that ends up producing for them at the wideout spot time in and time in. Years ago, they had Mike Wallace, they had Antonio Brown. Now you got Claypool and all of these other brothers. You just continue to find different things. That has not been the Jets. The Jets have been in situations where, guess what? They've had a decent offensive line, but they had nobody to run the football. They had nobody to catch the football. They had nobody to throw the football. We've got to take those things into consideration from time to time when somebody so flagrantly special comes along. And correct me if I'm wrong, Joey, just from a talent perspective, is DeVonta Smith that special?
DeVonta Smith is special, and I just tell you a story, and this is why I say this about wide receivers. When I was in Tampa with John Gruden, and I used to love his offense, he's terrific. He's one of the best play callers I've been around. And I would come to the sideline and be like, hey, Gru, I am wide open. Can you throw me the ball deep? He would look at me with that snarl on his face, and he's like, well, I would if I could get my offensive line to block somebody. I can't throw it to you because I can't protect my quarterback. I can't get the ball out because offensively, we weren't good enough doing those things that had to happen first. I think DeVonta Smith is special. I think Chris Olave is special. I think Jalen Waddle is going to be special. All I'm saying is, not quite like Max and saying you can get one of those guys in the 5th round. I do believe you can get a special wide receiver, maybe a notch below DeVonta Smith. But those other things that have to happen first, it won't matter what DeVonta Smith is. It truly won't matter because they can't get the ball to him anyhow. They have to get that offensive line together to find out if Sam Darnold is that guy.
Stephon Diggs and Tyreek Hill were both taken in the 5th round. Stephon Diggs and Tyreek Hill were both taken in the 5th round. It's not that receivers and running backs aren't important. It's that you can find there are a lot of great receivers and a lot of great running backs. And the premium that the number 1 guy gives you over the number 5 guy is not such that you can spend an extremely high draft pick on a receiver or running back. Stephen A., I love Saquon Barkley. You mentioned Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott lived up to the draft pick. How many Super Bowls did the Cowboys go to? Well, because they didn't have X, Y, and Z. Right. And you can get great running backs later in the draft. That's why almost no matter how special a running back is, in fact, no matter how special a running back is, if you take them way up high, you're making a mistake. And unless you have a lot of things in place, as Joey just pointed out, you'd be making a mistake taking a wide out number 2.
Yeah. Ultimately comes down to need versus best player, fellas. But as for Alabama,